Hello, my name is Dr. Tom Bennett. I'm from Kane University, working with the Kane University Oral Archive History Project for the Battleship New Jersey. I'm working with Mr. E.B. Helm at the tape. Today is September 13th, the year 2002, and I'm aboard the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey, to talk with Mr. Francis Keenan, K-E-E-N-A-N, who served as a machinist mate 3rd class from January 1943 to May 1946, and he is one of the plank owners, in other words, the original crewman of the battleship. Mr. Keenan, thank you so much for talking with us today.
You're welcome.
To start the conversation, I want to ask you a question. How did you become involved with the Battleship New Jersey?
Well, I joined the Navy, and just the way it was, they put us aboard the ship. They put us, you know, they just signed up the first 1,000 or 2,000, and there was a history about how they picked out the people at that time. The way I understand, there wasn't many high school graduates then, at that time. And they wanted, this was supposed to be a real super ship, and they picked out, believe it or not, all the high school graduates they could get.
Oh, so they looked for high school graduates, more
Yeah.
educated, possibly more
Because of
formally
the ship was more high tech at that time than the older ships were.
So when you were finishing your naval boot camp, so to speak, they selected you because you had been a high school graduate.
That's what I read.
Mm-hmm.
And it must have been true, I don't know.
Okay. What was your experience then, coming aboard the ship for the first time? What did you feel? What did you see? What did you sense?
Wow, it was big. Biggest ship I ever seen in my life. Well, I come from a small town. We never had water around us, you know. I seen a Great Lakes ship once in a while. Never thinking I'd be on one bigger. And it was just mind-boggling at the time, you know. But they put us to work. We was on before it was done.
What did you do? You came aboard, they put you to work. What did they make you start doing?
Cleaning up grease off some of the machinery. Just getting it ready to move aboard. That's about it, I guess you could.
So the ship, when you boarded it, was in the water,
Yep.
but it hadn't yet been commissioned.
All right.
Were you aboard for the commissioning ceremony?
Yes.
Tell me about that ceremony as far as you can recall.
Well, they lined us up all on the fantail, and I know there was some dignitaries, and Captain Holden at the time, he was the captain of the ship, and different ones gave a speech, and really that's all I can remember.
When you first came aboard the ship and before it was formally commissioned, what condition did you find it in? Was it all nearly completed, or was
Yes,
it still
yes.
work being done on it?
Still work being done, but it was finishing up.
And then after the ship is commissioned, it went on its shakedown cruise.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the shakedown cruise.
Well, that's when they discovered all the bugs that they did. You know, they had some bug parts, and the yard workmen had to. I think some of the yard workmen and the supervisors probably came with it on the shakedown to recommend change here, there, and that kind of update this and fix that thing, and things like that. You know,
Was there any major problems with it?
I don't know. We didn't have any trouble in our engine room, and we were kind of, you know, not alone back there, but that was our territory.
So you were a machinist mate. Talk to me a little bit about your work as a machinist mate.
Well, we had to repair pumps, put new packing in, and we had schedules to maintain all the equipment in the engine room, which was done, you know, really under tight things, you know. So everything had to be working just right. There was no slip-ups, you know, no nigger.
Did you work, was it a 24-hour day routine?
No, it was like, I think when we first went on, it was just, when we stayed at the station there, it was like a 6 or 8 hour day. We had our nights to ourselves. But then after we moved aboard, everything was cleaned up. The Navy accepted it from the Navy yards in mint condition at that time. And so then, the way we did it, we moved aboard and away we went, I guess.
What happens then as the ship moves to the Pacific? Talk to me about some of the experiences you had in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, we went through the Panama Canal, which is 106 feet wide, or 108 feet wide, and we're 106. So it's close. And see, we went and took a shakedown down around Trinidad, and we visited there, come back, they done some more work on it, and then we went through the canal. And that was a good experience, going through the Panama Canal. We had a guy that narrated all the way through it. It was interesting, all the problems they had building it and how they have to keep it maintained and filled back up with mud. And after that we went to the Pacific, and I think we went to the Hawaiian Islands first for more ammunition. Maybe I don't really remember that. And then we went in the Pacific someplace. I don't really remember where we did go. You know, it's in the log someplace where we went.
Does anything stand out in your mind about the ship's experience in World War II?
Yeah, it was you know, when they go into a battle, you were confined more or less, and you had to be able to get along with people. Some you liked, you got along with you, and some we had to all tolerate each other. And that was the thing. Of course, I come from a big family, so I knew how to get along with a crowd. I know we're all not perfect.
Did any of the major battles stand out in your mind?
Yes, one on a Truck Island, I think it was, where they had the big turkey shoot. Well, that was
Mariana's turkey
yeah,
shoot.
yeah. We were in on that one.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What do you recall from that battle?
Well, I just remember, I think it went on for, it seemed like a week, but I'm not sure. It'd be recorded someplace. They took part of us. When you were when the general quarters sounded, if you were in the engine room, you just stayed right there. Then you had a secondary battle station you went to, and they changed the battle stations around so you could kind of fit in any place if necessary. And that day I was on the 40 millimeter guns, and we see all those planes getting shot down, and it was really almost like you see on well, it was history being made. That's when Japan lost all their best pilots during that raid, according to history.
Which 40 millimeter gun were you
It was
on?
bow on the right-hand side.
Bow right-hand side.
Yeah.
What was your task on the gun?
Well, I was trained that I could be a pointer on it, I could be a loader, you know, dropping the shells in it, I could be an ammunition handler. Whoever the different ones showed up, I mean, you just, whatever was the captain assigned you to, that's all. So.
And what was your experience that day during the Mariana's turkey shoot?
Well, a big mess. Because see, it was supposed to be a real powerful battle, and it didn't really. It was supposed to turn, like I understand, into like a sea battle too, but it turned into more of a Air Force battle. Then they had some surface ships that come out and shot at us and stuff that. But like I said, I don't remember pinpoint. I just general.
How long did the battle last?
It seemed like it was 2 or 3 days, if I remember right. It's all, like I say, it's in the history book someplace.
Sure. And as you were working on the gun, did you ever see any Japanese airplanes
come close? Yeah. We could see them up there flying around and seeing them. Some of our pilots get shot down. They bail out of the airplane there. Some of their planes they didn't have parachutes, so they just smashed into the water. And it was really something, you know, for a country kid to see all this crap.
Any other battles that stand out in your mind or experiences?
Oh, down in the Philippines, that Philippine Battle, that was a big one.
Talk to me about that. When did that occur? Do you recall roughly?
It was in the latter part of, I think it was in spring of '45, and that's when the Japanese were going to come in and try and reinforce some islands down there somewhere. They were in big problems, and they sent about all their fleet down there to sneak through, and then they sent some other carriers down there, and it was supposed to be really a big battle, and it was. The older battleships took done most of the fighting down there. We were chasing some carrier group.
That was under Admiral Halsey.
Yes.
Yeah. How did the men feel about Admiral Halsey? What was their reaction to him?
Well, he's all right. I mean, you never got to know. We knew him personally. He used to come down in our engine room once in a while. He didn't live down there, but he'd come down there and sit around and shoot your bow, and maybe be there a half hour and he'd leave. And that was about it. That's all we got to know him.
What was he? Did you ever get to talk to him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was he like to talk to?
He was rough as an old corn cob.
Was he? Cussing and cursing a lot?
Well, I don't think he was cursing, but he would talk rough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, he thought, you know, he'd just talk to us like people talk to each other in them circumstances. So that's what all.
Now, another admiral aboard the ship was Admiral Spruance.
Yeah.
Do you recall Admiral Spruance at all, and any reactions you have?
No. I remember seeing him on the bridge, but that was all.
That was about it.
Yeah.
One other thing we're looking at aboard the ship is the mixture of the crew. And later on, of course, the military is integrated, but during World War II, the African Americans, Filipinos were in the steward section that served the officers.
Yes.
Did you ever have any association with any of the stewards at all? Or?
No, they stayed by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own bunk areas and their own duties and that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was that generally true of different divisions, that they would stay in their
Oh
own
yes,
areas?
yeah, they had their own bunk area and all that, because when they had to relieve a watch or something, they'd have to send a man up to wake everybody up that would be going on the watch. And that's.
How about the everyday life aboard ship in the Pacific during wartime when you're not fighting? What was it like?
Well, you had certain duties to do down in the engine room, and you done them. And of course, when you had 4 on, 4 off, you didn't have too much time to do it. And then you had time to goof off, and you go to maybe the library and get a book, read a library, and you could, if you like to read or try to rate or get another rate up, you know, or study. And if you wanted to keep your mind busy, you could. Some couldn't. Some played cards. I never played cards. I just never. My dad never played them. We never played them, so it didn't hold no.
So what would you do? Did you go to the library in your spare time?
Yeah,
Or?
we played. Let's see, Acey-Deucey, I think. That was that rug you played with dice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a game you could start quick and end in a hurry, you know, if you had to.
What was it like as the war started to wind down? Or before I get there, what was your reaction to the Japanese, our enemy?
Well, not really a heck of a lot. We thought they caused us a lot of inconvenience, and they done a hell of a thing. But if people pushed into corners, I guess they do damn things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you, after a while, you read the history and you can find out more about that circumstances, you can understand they were a dictator type of people, and they wanted to expand, and they wanted their neighbor's backyard. That's about, I guess you'd call it.
Did you ever see any of the Japanese prisoners that were brought aboard the ship?
Yeah, they captured 2 pilots, I think. They got pictures of them in the New Jersey war log.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they took them, sent them to some island after they cleaned them up and put them in the brig for a couple of days or something. I don't know.
What were general conditions aboard the ship like every day? How was the food? How was the sleeping accommodations?
Well, in the Pacific, it was hot all the time. So you just learned. I just told my wife, and then we slept up underneath number 3 turret. Because that was, there'd be a breeze through there at night if you're working. You couldn't sleep there during the daytime, but at night you could if you worked days. And that's where they'd come and wake you up even for your watch.
So men would be sleeping all over the deck, basically.
Underneath the turret.
Underneath the turret. Why, to get away from any rain or something?
Yeah, because it could rain, or you had to stay away from the splash if the waves come over, that kind of stuff.
So you lived most of your life on deck at night then? To
No,
try and stay cool.
yeah,
Did many men sleep below deck on a regular basis with all the, it was hot, I assume, down there?
No, not too many. They all tried to find a cool place.
A cool place to sleep, yeah. Did you lose much weight with the heat?
I expect I did,
Yeah.
but I never was big in the first place. In fact, I weigh the same as I got out of the Navy.
Good for you.
I weigh 150 pounds, all wet.
How was the food back then?
It was good. In fact, a lot of people, like I said, I lived on a farm, so we probably ate better for the general population because of the bad times. And like a lot of those kids, they complain, young guys, about the meat wasn't right and this wasn't right and that. But shit, that was the first time we've had it probably in a long time, because meat was scarce, or the people weren't working steady. Like one guy said, he never seen a light bulb till he come in the Navy. He'd come from Tennessee someplace.
Never had lights before.
Yeah.
Now, the captain of the ship was a Captain Holden.
Yes.
What do you remember about him?
Not a heck of a lot. We'd see him up there, pacing around, walking. But that was, he never associated with us, and we didn't associate with him. We had our.
Had other things to do.
Well, that just didn't happen. That's all. On the real small ships, they did, but on the larger ships, as you go up, you didn't associate with the captains.
Once you left, the war ends. How did the ship have an impact on your life next 10, 20, 30 years?
Oh, I think kind of quite an impact. I always thought I'd always relate to my kids' experience we had, and I try to tell them stuff about that, and all the places we've seen, and people we served with, and all different kind of people. There was all different kinds, and well, you know that, so. And you had to learn to get along with them. You had to bend a little bit if you had to. But we just learned, I guess. Accept life as it is, I guess. If it gives you a lemon, make lemonade, and the hell with it.
As we start to wrap up the interview, is there any question I didn't ask, or anything you want to say that you think is important that should be stated about your experiences on the battleship?
Well, let's see. I think it's something that really all young men, people almost should go through some kind of an experience like that to make, so they understand how the rest of the world lives. So it's my boys were right there at the time after Vietnam, it was hell, Military was the dredges, and they weren't old enough to march and all that stuff, but they didn't have a good taste in it, and they didn't understand why we didn't think it was so bad.
So do you have a good taste in your mouth over World War II in Battleship New Jersey?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a great experience. You couldn't sell it for a cup of coffee, but then I had it.
Is there anything else you want to say at this point?
Well, no, just my wife and sister and her husband. We've been aboard this out in San Diego, Long Beach, when they had a mini reunion in 80-something. Mm-hmm. And we belong to the Naval Memorial out at Washington, D.C., and we've traveled with them. And, just learn how to travel, too, because, like I say, we come from a little town. It's only less than that. In fact, I lived in the country outside of town. Mm-hmm. And moving into the big city like that, into the Navy.
And then coming to a ship like this was a different experience.
Oh, it was mind-boggling, to be honest, to be really truthful about it. Then I wasn't the only one to see a large ship like this, and how many people lived on it, and how it was organized and run. And I never had really any trouble. I learned to get along. So. No, my brothers, they went through younger brother, he was on an LST. My dad wouldn't let him drive the tractor on the farm, but he was a coxswain on a landing barge. He got the Navy.
He got to drive.
Then my older brother was a gunner's mate on the 2nd Lexington. He was on it when he got hit the second time. So we were all knee deep in it.
Sure. Well, thank you. I've been interviewing today Mr. Francis Keenan, who served aboard the Battleship New Jersey from January 1943 to May 1946. He was a machinist mate, 3rd class. Thank you very much, sir.
I can tell you one more little story.
Go right ahead.
We were down in the we were showing my wife and my brother-in-law what the boiler room and an engine room looked like. And we got down there, and here was a guy that he'd served aboard the Jersey in the boiler room, and he was telling stories, and I agreed with him what they used to do to the boots when they come in, how they send them after a bucket of steam, that kind of stuff. And that got a big laugh, They thought, my wife and them thought that was funny.
A little harassment for the young people.
Yeah. See, we missed all that. See, the guys that come aboard when I did, there was a small percent of veterans, some Navy veterans, because they all come, the ones that come on, most of them come off of, they were 90-day wonders or come off of ships that had been sunk. Mm-hmm. And the rest was green troops.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of this old Navy crap to, try to pull stuff out on the boots. But I see it worked, and we worked it.
And you did it too?
Yeah, you know, pass it on. So,
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
all righty.
Thank you.
All righty. Hope
Yeah,
you can do
take
some
care.
good with it.